everybody. I'm Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. The aim of this podcast is to raise awareness about blindness, visual impairment, and disability in general, in a happy and light-hearted way. For those of you that don't know, I am blind. I was born with a condition called bilateral anophthalmia. Try spelling that one. It basically means that when I was born, my eyes didn't develop properly, so I wear prosthetics instead. The goal of this podcast is to remove some of the stigma and stereotypes around disabilities, whilst also having fun at the same time. Each week, I will be interviewing people from all walks of life, including some with hidden or physical disabilities like mine, and getting to know a little bit more about them and the lives they lead. This week, I am very excited to tell you that I will be talking to Craig Harrison, who is a former soldier and who now runs the Maverick Survival School. My name is Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. Hi, Craig.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's really nice to have you. So how's your day going so far?
I've got the school this afternoon, this weekend. I've got like 6 people coming down. So yeah, this weekend would be good as long as the rain stays off.
Oh yeah, hopefully. But that's good that you've got a lot of people coming down.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy this year. So it's all good, and I'm taking bookings for next year as well now. So yeah, the school's just getting better and better.
Oh yeah, it sounds it. That's great. So to begin with, can you tell me a bit about your childhood?
I had a good childhood. I was born in Cheltenham near Gloucestershire, and I had a really good childhood. I was lucky enough to have horses when I was younger, and so I was riding from an early age, and I did like show jumping, gincana stuff, and also a thing called triathlons where you run, shoot, swim, and do cross country on the horse, and it's really good. And my childhood was very lonely, as in that I got a brother and he's in the army as well. He was in the army, he's left now, he's done his time. But he wasn't interested in the horses. So I was mainly doing the horses on my own, early in the morning, getting up, going to school, coming back from school and doing the horses again. So I didn't really socialise when I was younger because of my commitment with the horses, really. And that was my childhood, really,
Yeah. I mean, I do horse riding as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I've done it since quite a young age. And I think it's such a brilliant thing to be able to do because for me, it's a bit of an escape.
Yes. Yeah. Do you find that you're more sensitive because you are blind? Do you find that you control the horse better because your senses are more heightened? Do you find that?
I think sometimes it depends on the horse. But yeah, I have had cases where I feel more in control than maybe someone who's sighted.
Yeah, do you just hack out or do you jump as well?
I'm doing a little bit of dressage at the minute.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, maybe working up to doing a dressage test. I'm not too sure what my riding school wants to do, but I have done quite a lot of hacking out and I would love to do show jumping as well, but I don't know how that would work with someone blind.
Yeah, that would be a hard one, really, thinking about it, unless you use aids like bells and things like that. So where you must have to put your trust in the horse a lot as well. So you got to have a good horse for it, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I do still have a leader at the minute just because, so I don't crash into anything.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I have done a couple of sessions where I've without a leader. And yes, you do have to put so much trust in the horse not to walk you into anything.
No, good. And hope the dressage goes on and you get better and better at it. Dressage is really good.
Yeah, it is. So you joined the military at 16. Can you tell me about what made you want to join?
My granddad, who was my father figure when I was younger, he said to me, get a trade. always get a trade, because he's old fashioned. He was in the RAF when he was younger. And I think he worked for Maverick Showers, doing showers in houses and things like that. And he worked in the factory building the showers. And he always said to me, get a trade, get a trade, get a trade. And there was nothing around Cheltenham for me to have an opportunity to get a trade. And I wanted to stay with horses, really, because that was my life. And so I thought, I want to be a farrier, blacksmith sort of way. And so I applied for the army to join the Household Cavalry, because I know the Household Cavalry will put money into you to do a farrier's course. And that's why I joined the army, really, to become a farrier and to get a trade. So when I've done my time in the army and I left the army, I've got something to fall back on, something that I can get money from and earn a living from.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So did you start off as a farrier and then progress into doing different things?
Well, back in the 90s, early 90s, when I joined, the forge was very Victorian, and it was full of people with handlebar moustaches, big guys hitting metal on anvils and things like that. And my face didn't really fit. And I was dyslexic when I joined the army. I don't know how I passed the exam to get in the army, but I did all right to get in the Household Cavalry. And they used to give us homework at night to go and do. And I did more illustration work, like pictures and things like that, more than I did written work. So it was quite difficult for them to put me on a farrier's course. And they said, look, you're not up to it, because there's a lot of written work involved. So I never really got into the forge. And do you know what, Evie? I didn't have a plan B, because my plan A was to be in the army, to be a farrier. That was my plan A. And I didn't have a plan B. And I always tell people now, always have a plan A, always have a plan B, and always have a plan C as well, because nothing works out sometimes like you want it to.
Yeah, definitely. It's really important to have a plan B, so you at least have something to fall back on if things don't work out.
Oh, massively, yeah.
So you served for about 23 years, I think, and were deployed to various locations during that time.
Yeah.
You've since spoken openly about PTSD and its impact on your life. So could you explain what PTSD is?
Post-traumatic stress, that's what PTSD is, and I've got CPTSD, so I've got chronic post-traumatic stress. So PTSD is like if you have an incident in your life and you reoccur it all the time and you're always thinking about it, and it brings on depression, it brings on sadness, it brings on anxiety and stress and things like that. CPTSD is different. It's multiple events that's happened in your life. So it's not just one thing. And I think I went to Bosnia first for a couple of times, 3 times. And then I went to Kosovo twice. And I think Kosovo is where I started having the symptoms of PTSD, dealing with mass graves, dealing with sort of the dead and things like that. And I didn't really expect it to be like that. So, but in them days, you had to, the word I hate, Evie, is man up. I hate that word. You need to man up and get on with it. And that's what it was like back then in the early 90s. You had to man up and get on with it. And I didn't really open up about my PTSD. I was sort of like just shut down, really, and put it in a little box in the back of my head. But I always had it back then. And I never knew really what it was, because it wasn't really talked about as much,
Yeah, definitely. I think talking about mental health, I mean, as someone who struggles with anxiety, I know that talking about mental health is a really difficult area to address, but it's really important to talk about it.
Yeah, massively. And I can feel for yourself, as you being blind, having anxiety, going into different situations and not being able to see around you, must be hard. And that's where your anxiety probably stems from as well.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be so, from being blind, you have to be so alert and aware, knowing where you are, what's around you. So I really struggle to be able to relax. I only really relax when I'm at home. But I think that's definitely where my anxiety stems from, because I've had it since maybe I was about 8 or 9.
Yeah, big time. Do you find that you find yourself, because obviously you see darkness, do you find yourself that you can, if you in a place all the time, like your home, you know everything is in your home because you've been there for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my friends, because I don't use my cane when I'm at home, I literally just feel with the back of my hand along walls and stuff. And my friends are always amazed of how like quickly I get around my house. But yeah, I know where everything is in my home. But do you know about seeing darkness? I don't actually even see that because my condition, it's called bilateral anophthalmia, and
Okay.
what it basically means is that I have the eye socket, but when it came to developing the actual eye, my body was like, no, not going to do that. So I wear prosthetics instead, which means I don't even see darkness.
So what do you, if you don't mind me asking, what do you see?
Literally, it's quite hard to explain. Literally nothing. Like, you know, when you close your eyes and you just see black.
Yeah.
I don't even see that because I've got prosthetic eyes. So I don't even have the optic nerve or anything. I literally just have an eye socket.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do you read Braille as well?
I do, yes.
I think that is fantastic, Evie, because I bought a packet of aspirin the other day and it had Braille on the back of it. And I closed my eyes and I rubbed my hands across it. And I don't think because I got fingers like sausages that I couldn't really figure out what to do, but that is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I've read Braille. I started learning Braille when I was about 2 or 3, because it's really important to learn it like as quick as possible, really. But because I was born blind, I literally had to read Braille. Otherwise, there would have been no way of me being able to read or write. But because I read Braille, my fingertips are super sensitive. Like when one of my worst things is, you know when you get a blood test and they do like finger prick.
Yes.
I hate that so much because I feel it so much more because of how sensitive my fingertips are.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you find that your senses, like your hearing, your smell, and everything, is heightened as well?
I think my hearing is definitely heightened. As a kid, I hated like birthday parties because they were really loud and I got overwhelmed and I couldn't really play with other kids because I was so scared. And my sense of touch is definitely heightened.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you. So you said earlier that you hate the phrase man up, and I completely get why. Do you think that it's more difficult for men to talk about their mental health than it is for women?
Yeah, I think women talk more and men don't. Yeah, men sort of bottle it up more because they've got that stigma. They're meant to be the hard man, or they're meant to be the tough man and nothing bothers you at all. And we need to break this stigma, They say 100% of suicide, 70% of men. And so, yeah, men need to talk more and we need to break the stigma more. And if we can break it at an early age, like children and the stresses of education and life with children, I think you can break it in adults as well. But I think people need to talk more. People need to talk, kids, adults, females, males, and everything. They just need to talk more and have somebody that they can trust to talk to in a situation. And I wouldn't say everything's curable, but talking helps and it releases that bit of pressure. And to break that stigma of man up, we can break the stigma, together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So how did you go about seeking help for your chronic PTSD?
I didn't know I had an issue. My wife, Tanya, noticed it first. She noticed I was isolating myself. I was getting angry over silly things. I was crying all the time, little things like watching adverts on telly. I would cry, I was very emotional and I just wanted to be on my own. So I was isolating myself more and not communicating anything. And I just thought it's just me because being a sniper, I like being on my own. And I think it stems back from my childhood, like I said before, because I was on my own all the time, doing the horses, coming from school. The only time I got to socialize is when I was at school, So being on my own wasn't a problem. And I thought there wasn't a problem with me. And then the army noticed it. And they called me into the office and they said, look, we're going to take you away for tests, mental health tests. They sent me away to a place called Aldershot near Surrey, and to the mental health unit there, and they gave me tests, and I had to wait a little bit, and then they called me into the office, into the MO's office, called it medical officer, and they said, yeah, we're discharging you out of the British Army. You've got mental health issues, you've got PTSD, and in my heart, I knew there was something wrong, when they said it. And I think it was like a sigh of relief, really, but I was upset. Because just the way the army sort of handled the whole situation. And then I said, what happens now? And he said, right, you go home and you wait for get discharged out of the British Army. And I went home and they put me on medication. Now, medication is not the answer, but it does help put you on that stable platform, and that's what you need. It numbs everything, it dulls everything. And yeah, that's when I noticed I had PTSD.
Right, okay. Was it hard to come to terms with the fact that you've been discharged from the army?
Massively. I've done 23 years. I joined the army when I was 16. I knew nothing bar the army. I knew nothing bar horses. I knew nothing then when I got discharged, I knew nothing but snipering. And that was my life. Snipering was my life, and I put 100% effort in everything that I'd done into snipering, and the tours that I'd done and everything. And going into civilian street from the army, you feel lost. You feel very lost and you don't know where to turn. And everything's done for you in the army. So when you leave the army, you've got to fend for yourself, and you think everyone's got your best interests, but they haven't. They're out to please themselves or make themselves look better. And me personally, I think every soldier that leaves the army needs to be monitored for 2 years, and that will stem suicide, that will stem homelessness, drug takes, alcoholism, if that's a word, alcoholism. But that will stem everything down if the army did that. But, they won't, and it will carry on doing what it's doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, though. I think if people were monitored, I think it would definitely help.
Oh, yeah, massively. But I don't think they've got the infrastructure to do it, and it would take too much manpower to do it as well.
So do you find that having a solid support network around you helps with your sort of mental health journey, I guess?
Yeah, I never had a solid support group around me. The only person I had around me was Tanya, my wife. That's the only person I had around me giving me support. And then Tanya's family, when I left the army, sort of like understood I wouldn't call it a disability, my illness, really, or PTSD, and they sort of things that irritated me more and avoiding situations and stuff like that. So it's mainly Tanya's family and Tanya herself, and then I had 5 years now, I had a therapist, Ross, and I see him every Thursday and I sit down with him, and bless him, he's like a, top bloke, and I scream and shout at him instead of bringing it home to Tanya. And he wears it and he gives me advice how to tackle things and how to cope with things, coping mechanisms and things like that. But yeah, having a good support system but around you helps. But some people haven't got that, Evie. Some people haven't got that at all, and people struggle. And that's why people do what they do, to get away from it all.
Yeah, 100%. So I imagine that you're very close with Tanya then.
Oh yeah, inseparable. She's my wife, she's my lover, she's my best mate, she's my everything. And we're close, and we've became closer since I've left the army, because it was always army first, her second. Because it was my job. And when I left the army, I promised her that I'd give everything back to her. And I did. And she's just amazing. I couldn't ask for a better person. And I feel lost without her, really.
Yeah. So I believe that you also have quite a strong connection with animals. As a pet owner myself, I find that my animals help me enormously. So can you tell me a bit about the connection you have with animals?
I think it stemmed when I was a kid as well, going back to my childhood with horses. My mum had goats, chickens, pigs, everything, So I just love animals. I think it's a saying, isn't it, that you love animals more than human beings, because they give you everything that you want. And I love dogs, and I had a little dog called Betsy, my little Yorkie, and originally I bought her for Tanya. But me and her sort of had a connection and we were inseparable. And she passed away. She passed away last year in June or July last year. I think it was July last year. She passed away, and she was 17. So she had a good life. But I miss her. She was my best mate, and I used to talk to her and everything. And the connection with horses. I love horses so much, and I think they're such powerful animals. And they do horse therapy now, where they take people with PTSD or disabled people, up to see horses, and horses go up to them. They recognize stress and anxiety and things like that. And I think that's amazing that animals can give you that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really sorry to hear about Betsy. Do you think that you'll ever get another dog?
Do you know what? Tanya's got two more little dogs called Teddy and Wilma. Teddy's we got him from America, and Wilma's a little Yorkie as well. And they're so bonded to Tanya. Every time she gets up and walks around the house, they follow her around, and Teddy's independent, but he loves both of us, but he's mainly Tanya's dog. And I get to the point where I think, yeah, I want one. I want another one, especially when I go in the woods the weekend. It's nice to have that company. But I get to the stage where I'm about to get one and I back off because I miss Betsy too much. But then I must realise in myself that I'm not replacing Betsy at all, because she was my best mate. I'm just giving a dog another good home.
Exactly. And I think Betsy would be happy for you if you got another dog,
Yeah, I know. I get upset. Because she was a good dog. She was a good dog.
I mean, I totally get what you mean about, how people say liking animals more than humans, because you can tell them everything and they literally can't tell anyone else. They just sit and listen to you. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, they don't judge you.
No, they don't, not at all. So obviously, like we mentioned earlier, you now run the Maverick Survival School. So can you tell me a bit more about this?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I love bushcraft and I love being outside in the woods. Absolutely love it. And I came to some sort of, me and Ross, my therapist, and Tanya as well, we all came to a conclusion that I wanted to open a survival school, mainly for veterans, really, and teach them bushcraft and just get them out in the woods, because being out in nature really helps your mental health, really helps it. Trees and plants and everything release a chemical that makes you feel relaxed and chilled out and everything. And that's what it's all about. And so I opened the Maverick Survival School. And the reason why I call it the Maverick Survival School is because my call sign on my last two tours was Maverick. So everyone knows me as Maverick 41. So I kept the school as the Maverick Survival School. And yeah, it's been doing really well. Veterans come free, and also people with disabilities come free as well. And yeah, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm at the moment as well of turning the school into a charity. I want charity status, so everyone can come down and experience the Maverick Survival School for the weekend, And what's different about my school is Ross comes down on a Saturday night and he will sit there and he will talk to everybody, and if you're struggling with anxiety, stress, or your mental health or PTSD, you go for a walk with him and he give you ideas and strategies and coping mechanisms with your anxiety and PTSD. So that's what's different about the school.
Wow, I mean, that sounds absolutely amazing. And I really hope that making it a charity goes well for you. So where is the Maverick Survival School based?
It's based in a little village near Southampton. It's in Bishop's Waltham. I've got I'm lucky enough to have access to a 50-acre wood block there. So it's quite big in the woods. And I don't use all the woods because, I don't know, I just keep in my little area really, and it does the job. But yeah, it's not too far from Bishop's Waltham.
Right, okay. So when did you actually set the school up?
Must be 2 years. This is my second year. Yeah, 2 years.
Oh, okay, cool. So looking forward then, what are your aspirations for the future?
Helping people. I've had dark times and I have horrible times, and I've been close to ending things, in my life. And I think the reason why I haven't done it, or it's been unsuccessful, is because I've got a calling to help other people. That's what Tanya says to me, to help other people cope with their mental health. to come down to the school and help people as well, and I think the future is looking bright for the school. And it's looking bright for other people. The amount of messages I get saying that you saved my life, thank you for me to come down to school. And they're only down there for 2 days doing some bushcraft stuff, but it's the whole build up, this whole ethos of the school and everything, So I just want the school to get better and better. That's what I want for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the school sounds absolutely brilliant, and I hope it will continue to flourish. So those are all the questions that I wanted to ask you. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, it's been so lovely to meet you, and I know that you're very busy. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me.
No, it's a pleasure. And it's a pleasure me doing this for you, and any time you want me to do it again, just give me a call and I'm happy to give you an update on the school and have more talks.
Oh, thank you so much. That would be great. And thank you to my audience for listening, and I will see you all next time.